This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, I'm just going to wait one more minute because I know it can take some time to get logged into this, especially a different go-to is, I know, a different platform than that everybody's used to. I'm seeing lots of names I'm recognizing, and some I don't. There's so many new names this year, and some nice surprises too. Okay, I am going to get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the EIR information session. My plan is for us to spend about the next 30 minutes going through some important information about the Engineer in Residence program. We have teachers here with us tonight from across Canada, ranging from kindergarten to grade 12. We have some teacher librarians with us today. We do also have French-speaking teachers here with us today. Unfortunately, I do not speak French, so apologies for that. But we do have our program coordinator, Avery, here with us tonight, who can help with French if needed. To get started, just take a second and say hello in the chat. Tell us who you are, where you're from, maybe what grade you're teaching. That would be wonderful to see. And I'm going to get started right away. I'm going to jump right in because I know you've all given up some very valuable time this evening. I saw a little comment there about report card time. I know everyone's very busy this time of year. So I really appreciate that, and I want to respect your time. All right, so briefly, here's what we'll be covering over the next 30 minutes. We're going to give you some information about who we are, we being Engineers of Tomorrow, just so you know who you're inviting into your school. And then we'll get into the Engineer in Residence program. What is it? Why do we do it? We'll cover some frequently asked questions. And then we'll just spend a few minutes chatting a little bit about your role and expectations. So I want to start by introducing you to the 2022 Engineers of Tomorrow team. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Rebecca White. I am the CEO. I joined Engineers of Tomorrow in 2016 and have had the privilege of working alongside our founder and personal friend, Erica Lee Garcia. Erica and I met while working for Science Quest at Queen's University many years ago. We both spent time working in industry before coming back to our Science Quest roots here at Engineers of Tomorrow. I would also like to introduce you to the powerhouse of our team here, our program coordinators. This summer we have with us Avery Gorglad, who is here with us tonight. Avery just finished her first year in engineering at Queen's University. Avery, I know I'm putting you on the spot a little bit. Would you like to take a second and introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. I hope you can all hear me all right, but my name is Avery. I'm super excited to, hear more about your experience and sit down with you and just get to know all of you and have you join our program. But yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, Avery. And then, of course, we also have Milan Joaquin on the team. Milan also just finished his first year in an engineering program at McMaster University. So Avery and Milan are with us until mid-August, and then I will be your primary point of contact going forward. So Engineers of Tomorrow is a national nonprofit, and our mission is to transform the engineering profession by talking about it differently. So to do that work, we work with educators and engineers and try to connect them to really a bright future. The Engineer in Residence program was founded by Professional Engineers Ontario, PEO, in 1998. So it has some good roots. And we took over the program, the Engineer in Residence program, in 2018. It very simply, it is a national STEM outreach program, and we match engineers with educators to help them bring the STEM curriculum to life. So we're pretty proud of this slide, but the thing I want you to take away from this slide is that you're part of something big. So this is just really showing you the growth of the program. I don't have all the history. I had numbers only back to about 2013, 2014, but you can just get an idea of the growth that we're seeing now. And again, wanting you to take away just this idea that you're part now of this entire community of extremely passionate volunteers and educators like yourselves that want to create innovative, engaging, and fun STEM experiences to inspire the next generation. And this is just a visual representation of where we have EIRs, that's what we call our engineers, where we have EIRs, and this is for this current academic year. In fact, I actually have a few that didn't make it on here. I couldn't get a full picture. We have a few international volunteers. We have one engineer in India. She happens to be matched with a virtual school in Ottawa, and it happens to be a kindergarten class, and they are doing the most incredible things. It's really neat to see. So let me just kind of jump right in here. How does it work? So basically, you get assigned an engineer, or sometimes you'll hear us say you get matched. You get matched with an engineer whose role is to help you by creating a customized STEM program for your students. And right now, Avery and Milan are working very hard to take all of the information that you provided on your intake application form. We're taking all that information that we've collected from you. We're taking all the information we've been collecting from our engineers who have been signing up to be volunteers for the program, and we're just trying to find the best fit for you. So I'll just explain a little bit about how we do that. The first thing that we consider are just any important requirements that you might have. So for example, do you need a French-speaking engineer? The second thing that we're going to look at then is proximity. We do our best to try and find an engineer that is close enough to your school so that they can visit in person, if that is allowed. We are completely flexible. You're going to hear me say this a lot tonight. It's a very flexible program, but we are completely flexible and prepared to switch gears and do virtual visits if that is needed. We do also have virtual schools signed up for the program. So in that case, we may still even look to match you with an engineer that is local, that is in your community, because we just like the idea that they are more relatable to the students, right? They know what's going on in the community and they can talk and kind of share and have that connection. Once the matches are finalized, we will be sending out a very important email, a welcome to the EIR program email, to basically electronically introduce you to your engineer. This is a very important email. It contains a lot of information. So please read it carefully. I highly recommend saving it so you can refer back to it if needed. And you should expect this email the week of June 20th. So it's coming out in a few weeks. This is also a good time for me to remind you that we do heavily rely on email as our primary method of communication. So I know most of you here today, you've been getting my emails because you're here. But we do have circumstances where emails end up in junk or spam folders. So please just make sure you have us marked as safe so that you don't miss any important program information. That welcome to the EIR program email is also going to include the contact information for your engineer. So be sure to mark them as safe too. Their email address is different from ours. They're going to be using their own personal email address or maybe their work email address. So please be sure to mark their email addresses as safe too. Once you get the welcome to the program email, I highly encourage you to just reply all and introduce yourself to your EIR. You can let them know maybe when you'll be available to connect for a brief intro call. It's really your first point of contact. It's your first opportunity to start building a working relationship with them. You might want to use it as an opportunity to set some boundaries or guidelines and just let them know a little bit about yourself. For example, I would expect many of you have some really awesome plans over the summer. So you might want to let them know, hey, I'm going to be offline from July till mid-August, so you won't be able to reach me. Now, and by the way, we are telling the EIRs, the engineers, the same thing. We recommend to them, hit reply all when you get that email and introduce yourself. So once those emails go out, we switch gears and we spend July training the engineers. So this part does not involve you in any way, but I just want to give you some visibility as to what's going on. So the engineers will go through 4 training modules, an intro to the EIR program, very similar to what we're doing today. They do a how to tell your engineering story module. They do a diverse and inclusive messaging module. And we also have a module specifically on virtual visits. Really with this, our goal is to make sure that the engineers are prepared and ready to start their visits in the fall. So as you all start thinking about getting back into the classroom, back into the schools, maybe in late August for some planning, again, I highly recommend you reconnect with your EIR. It's great if you can even involve them in the planning in some way. The more information that you can give them about what you have planned for the year, the better. And it doesn't have to be all figured out. I just want to make sure that you understand. But if you can at least tell them like, hey, I'm thinking of doing a unit on water systems in October, then they can go away, they can start researching some ideas that would complement that unit. This is also where you have control over how involved you want to be in the design of this program. So you might want your EIR you might say to them, like, go find a few activity ideas. Let me essentially approve them. I want to see them. I want to know what you're doing in advance before you do your visit. That way you have final say over what's going on in your class. Or, again, this is totally up to you how you like to work. Maybe you just want to give them some constraints to work with. I can tell you engineers are completely comfortable working within certain constraints. You'll be speaking their language if you give them some constraints. So you might want to say something like, hey, I want you to find something, but can you make it hands-on? It can't be longer than an hour, and I want it to be done in groups. And then just go let them do the legwork. So like I said before, you're going to hear me say this again and again, this program is very flexible. So now, once school is back in September, we do have a fun kickoff event planned. It is a great time to just get reconnected and meet other teachers and engineers in the program. And then for the remainder of the academic year, you'll be communicating primarily with your engineer. We basically leave it to the two of you to make plans, arrange dates, coordinate all the things. We will be sending out regular email communications. We do have a monthly newsletter we send out. We want you to be informed, but we rely on you to let us know if you need anything. Okay? In May, we'll be reaching out to you specifically to get feedback on how your experience was for the year. We're very much always thinking about continuous improvement. How can we continue to refine things to make the experience even better for everyone year after year? So we'll be asking you those kinds of questions about May 2023. We're also going to be asking you if you want to continue with the program again the following year. So I'm just telling you this now so that you know you won't need to reapply for the program. Once you're in, you just need to give us a simple yes or no if you want to return again the following year. Sorry, I have two screens going, so there's a bit of a delay as I switch slides. All right, so hopefully I have covered some of your questions so far, but I am sure you've still got more. I haven't been able to keep too close an eye yet on the chat, but I see that it is pretty active. But before I open it up for Q&A, I am going to go through some of our FAQs. And I'm going to look over at my other screen so I can read them. So are visits done in person or virtual? So I talked about this a little bit already. We now have extensive experience. We have been doing virtual visits for the past 2 years. So we are very flexible doing in-person or virtual visits. Either one, we have lots of activities that can be done either way. We have lots of experience, like I said, tips, tricks, resources on how to do things virtual if needed, or if preferred in some cases, or required for virtual schools. What exactly is it that EIRs do in the classroom? Do you only do engineering activities? I mean, it is called the Engineer in Residence program after all. So, we firmly believe that you really can't have engineering without the S, the T, and the M. So absolutely, we need to build those foundations. You can do an activity on science, math, tech, arts, very cross-curricular. There's lots of room for flexibility and finding things and making programming that fits in with what you need in the classroom. And then as for what those things are, we recommend that that it's usually like a hands-on activity when possible, or at least something that is driving some sort of engagement and interactivity. So we're not so much talking at the students. However, we do also, we can do presentations, we can do lessons. We sometimes will get requests from particularly high school to do just a general presentation on like, what is engineering? Like, what are all the disciplines? What does it actually look like in real life? So it's all completely fine. Just ask your engineer. We actually have an entire library of lessons where they can pull from different activities that others have used in the classroom. We have links to other really awesome resources, recommendations for other programming, design challenges, all that good stuff. Okay, how do I communicate with my EIR and what if they don't respond? So like I said, the first thing you're going to get from us is an email. So the first way you're going to be connecting with them is by email. I, again, highly recommend you start off this relationship by talking about how you like to communicate. Maybe you're someone who prefers text. Maybe you don't answer texts in the evening. Maybe you don't answer texts during the day when you're busy. So let them know what your preferences are. We actually do also have a Discord server. So for those of you that are familiar with Discord, you can join our server. You can message each other that way if you prefer. we'll talk a little bit about the Discord server during the kickoff in September. So whatever works best for you. What happens if they don't respond? First thing I'm going to tell you is please, please, please check your junk and spam. It happens to us every year that teachers reach out about like middle of the year and they say, my engineer hasn't been responding to me. And then as we dig deeper, we realize that there's some really strong firewalls, especially at school boards, and their emails are being diverted to junk and spam folders. So please make sure you're checking on that. And if they're still not responding to you, like you've tried a few times, again, get us involved, and please get us involved as soon as makes sense. This also happens to us every year when we reach out to the teachers and the engineers in May, and they tell us, oh, I never heard from that teacher, or I never heard from that engineer, and there's nothing we can do about it at that late stage in the year. So what if the engineer has trouble connecting with the students? So if none of you have met an engineer before, and especially one maybe that doesn't have kids and one that's maybe been out of school for quite a while, they're used to being in a corporate environment where they generate a lot of reports and send emails and talk to other engineers and talk to their bosses in a very probably specific way. And so, of course, we are going to be coaching and training them, but they are also very receptive to feedback. So please give them constructive feedback on what you're seeing in the class. Sometimes it's something simple that they can tweak, like take the text out of your slides and add more images in, right? So please don't be afraid to give them constructive feedback. They are very receptive to, and honestly, they are so passionate and wanting to share their passion with these students that they want to do it in a way that's going to come through and have the biggest impact. So they will appreciate getting feedback from you on how to create better connections. You are the experts on your own students, right? What happens if the activities are unrelated to the curriculum? It's been a long day. I've done a lot of talking today, so words are not easy at the moment. So activities unrelated to the curriculum. So the first thing I will say is if you have done the things that I'm recommending in terms of connecting with them early on, involving them in your planning process, this is most likely not going to be a problem. However, if it is, and sometimes we have an engineer, let's say I'm going to pick on like an aerospace engineer, and they're so passionate about space, and all they want to do is talk about space all the time, every day, all day. And so we need to rein them back in a little bit. So absolutely, same as with the previous comment, please give them constructive feedback. We understand that you have an extremely busy, packed curriculum. You don't have time to fit other things into the school year. We want to be there as a resource for you. We want to be able to help you enhance, enrich, and I'm probably not using the right teacher terms, but really bring that STEM curriculum to life for those students. So when the activities are unrelated, that's not fair to you and that's not fair to the students. So step one, give them some constructive feedback. The other thing I would recommend is possibly think outside the box a little bit. So over time, this is something we've also experienced where we tend to think of an activity in only through one lens. So there's a program that we run in the winter called the Future City Experience. Essentially, in that program, the students imagine, design, and build a model of a city 100 years in the future. The theme this year happened to be living on the moon. Maybe that's why I picked on aerospace engineers. And so it would be easy to tie that into like I think it's grade 6 space curriculum, at least here in Ontario. However, a same project could be tied to structures. That same project could be tied more to the human aspect of what's going on. So they have to consider keeping people safe and healthy and happy. So there's lots of different ways you can approach these different activities or design challenges. And then lastly, of course, like I've been saying, please let us know. If we need to get involved, we will, and make sure that you're having a good experience and getting what you need out of the program. Okay, how am I doing for time? I think I'm good so far. Okay, what if I change grades, schools, roles? We realize not everything is finalized for next year. We are still in the current academic year. We are making plans for the coming academic year. We understand that. We know things change. We completely can be flexible and adapt to that. If you're changing grades, most likely this is zero impact. We haven't told the engineers what grade that you all have. You've given us that information. Thank you very much. That's very helpful for us to have that visibility. But we haven't told the engineers. So they, again, are going to be flexible and adaptable. If you're changing schools, if it's an in-person match and it's not very far away, again, most likely no impact. We'll just update our information. We'll tell the engineer to go to a different school and all will work out. If it is going to be too far away, like if you move, that happens, we understand, then just get us involved so we can make an informed decision. Obviously, options there would be maybe we can rematch you with a different engineer that is local to your new school, or we would then maybe look at, if we don't have someone available, we could look at switching you to just a virtual match in that case. And then different roles. We have also had this happen before in the program where a teacher has signed up and then they have switched to a role that is not necessarily in or attached to a classroom, maybe at a school board, sort of something with the school board. And so again, just contact us and we'll sort of treat this on a case-by-case basis. I think I mentioned we have a lot of teacher librarians here with us today. So if you're moving into a role like that, it can still work very, very well. And so we may not even need to make any changes at all. Or something at the board level. Again, we could just look at what makes the most sense for your circumstances. Can we do things outside the classroom? So field trips, school clubs, science fairs, etc. Yes. Again, it's so flexible. We have we hear stories every year of engineers that work in some really cool places, and they offer, of course, this has to be approved by your EIR, by your engineer, and their workplace, and of course your principal and your board. But that's something that we see happen occasionally each year is classes will visit an engineer's place of work, which is pretty cool. We see engineers involved in clubs all the time, STEM clubs, robotics clubs. They're a wealth of knowledge, and like I said, they're so passionate and wanting to help out. That one is usually more a matter of timing. We have asked them to make a commitment of visiting with you once per month. So if they're able to do more than that, they're welcome to. But if your club meets every week or every day, then they may not be able to accommodate that. Science fairs. So often our EIRs will get recruited to be judges at science fairs or represent engineering at a career night. Thinking all the way back to that slide I shared with the graph, and I was saying to you, you're part of something big. You're part of a community of engineers. And so we can really tap into that if you are looking to find engineers that can kind of wear that hat. Okay, next up. All right, so lastly, I just want to touch on your responsibilities as an EIR teacher. Really, the biggest role you have is communication. You are the expert when it comes to your class. So things like classroom management, I've talked about this already, but please give your engineer constructive feedback so that they can keep refining their approach each time they visit. This is one of the great things about the Engineer in Residence program. They're not just in once and done. They're there on a regular basis so they can keep refining. And as I mentioned already, we rely on you to let us know if you need help with something. Please don't wait until May to tell us you never heard from your engineer. It is too late for us to do something by then. Some of our more experienced EIR teachers have shared some best practices that have worked well for them. So I've shared them here on this slide. So picking a preferred method of communication, I talked a little bit about that already, but these are just basic things. You're building this relationship from the ground up. These are strangers and you're a stranger to them. So just letting them know how you like to communicate. Plan ahead. So like I said, if possible, involve them in your planning process as early on as you can. Prep students for prior to EIR visits. This tip actually came from an EIR teacher pair that worked together for years. And just this year, the teacher retired. So the EIR is there. She's not able to go back with her same teacher. But she was telling me this story of how over the course of the year and then years as they worked together, they both realized that they were shifting and adapting their approaches slightly. And what the teacher liked to do was sort of plant some seeds before the EIR would show up. So maybe she was coming in to do I don't know, a lesson on structures. And so the teacher would plant a few seeds so that when the EIR came in and asked a question, the kids were like, oh, wait, I think I know. And so it just sort of facilitated some of that excitement and engagement. And then give feedback. I keep saying this one. Please don't be afraid to let them know how things are going. Okay. I want to wrap up, I want to share this quote with you. I just thought that it was really inspiring and particularly relevant to the engineer in residence experience. It's by an author, Ralph Ellison. Education is all a matter of building bridges. And I just thought that was really funny because anytime I go into a class, and I studied chemical engineering at Queen's University, and I go in and I ask the kids, like, what do you think engineers do? 90% of the time they tell me engineers build bridges. And so I thought that was just really kind of interesting how the engineer in residence program is building a bridge with the education system and the teachers and the community and the students and the educators. So I thought that was particularly relevant here today. A final reminder, the next thing you need to be on the lookout for is that welcome to the program email from us. Like I said, we're targeting to get those emails out the week of June the 20th. And just before I open it up for Q&A, I do have a special request. Please tag us when your EIR visits your class. We love getting a window into the classroom. They're usually doing something really fun and like they're great photo ops. So I know a lot of teachers, at least I see a lot of teachers posting on Twitter. We are on all the social media platforms. So please tag us so that we can have that window into the classroom and retweet and share and all that good stuff. Thank you again to all of you for giving up your very valuable time this evening. I'm going to open it up now for any other questions. Maybe I'll scroll through the chat, see if I missed anything. Avery, maybe you can flag it if you've been keeping an eye on it. I will ask that you use the chat to ask your questions. just because we have so many people on here tonight, it might get a little crazy if we're trying to unmute. But also that way we have a log of all of the questions. So if we miss something or if we can't get through them all, that just lets us have a record so we can go back through and get back to you with responses if needed. How about I leave it on this other slide because it's way more fun to look at than that green one. All right, I'm going to maximize it so I can see the chat better here. Okay. All right. Someone was asking a question. They were having trouble with audio. This is being recorded, so don't worry. We'll send the link for the recording afterwards. Someone's asking, will my engineer... Oh, Avery, you answered that. Will my engineer be available for more than one class at the same school? So yes. Please just talk to them about that. That does happen very often. Honestly, if they're okay with it, we're okay with it. So just check that
Heidi
with
also
them.
asked about whether the EIR can visit multiple classes with different teachers.
Yeah, just ask them, Heidi. It's fine with us. Or if they are limited by time, maybe like 1 month they do your class, the next month they do another class, or whatever's going to work best. And then next year get the other teachers to sign up too. So then we'll, yeah. Can my EIR visit a class that I do not teach? Yes, of course. So if you have applied for the program, you are listed as the primary contact person in our system. So that means you're going to get all the information. You're going to get the monthly emails from us. So if your EIR is visiting other classes, other teachers, that's absolutely fine. If those other teachers want to be on the distribution list, basically, just let us know. We'll just add their email into the distribution list so that they can also get those emails. If you think of it like this is just no pressure to do this, but if it's at all possible, we would really appreciate knowing like how many kids are in those other classes and like what those classes are like, just so we have some visibility. Like we publish an annual report, we publish a program report, just so we can share impact numbers. Will our EIR have more than one teacher match? No. I shouldn't say that, sorry. We do have a few EIRs that are retired engineers, and they are very committed, and they are visiting multiple schools multiple times a week. So we do have an exception to that, but generally speaking, no, they are matched with you. Aaron saying, I'm new to this and not really sure what to expect, but totally okay. Aaron, were you, I don't know if you're still here, you were in Future City? I recognize your name, and I'm sorry, I'm seeing so many names. If you were in Future City, which is what I was thinking of, it's actually very similar to the Future City program. The difference is that we don't give you a specific challenge to do. Tim, your school is in Northern Ontario. How is it possible for personal visits? We have a few engineers in Northern Ontario. So if we can, like I said, we prioritize proximity when we're looking at how we're matching everybody. So we will be looking for someone in that area. The other thing we do is, and Avery has been doing this for the last few weeks, as we get visibility in terms of what teachers are applying and where they are from, if we start seeing big gaps, so a lot of teachers in one area and not enough engineers or vice versa, the structure of the body that regulates engineers, PEO, they're set up in a chapter system. And so we'll reach out to that chapter in that area and let them know, like, hey, there's a school that's looking for an engineer in your area. So we have a network, we have channels that we can explore. I'll tell you a quick story, Tim. I had a teacher in Thunder Bay, so I don't know how far Northern Ontario you're talking, but a teacher in Thunder Bay. She reached out in April. She lost her EIR. The EIR was okay. They just moved. But she had been spending the EIR had been spending the year with her class, and the situation changed, and she no longer had an EIR for her class. This is April now that she's reaching out to me, so it's pretty late in the year. So I sent out an e-blast to all of our engineer volunteers, the ones that are already doing other classes. And within 24 hours, I had 50 replies from people that were willing to help out. Not all of them were local, like some of them were saying I can help virtually or whatever. But just to give you a sense of the network that we have available to us, we're going to do the best that we can. Someone was asking me about training and lessons that are prepared in French. I'm going to be honest, as we've been growing over the years, we traditionally didn't have a lot of interest from French speaking classes or French schools. So most of our information is in English, but that's changing. So we now do have more lessons available in French, and we are starting to get things translated. Looking at like getting our website even translated so that we have it available in both, because we are getting a lot more interest, and we have a decent amount of French speaking volunteers. Avery, I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you happen to know approximately how many? Like, I know you were just looking at numbers for French matches, so.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, my camera's, yeah, okay, there we go. My camera needed to load up. But we're actually, I think we have about 20 French schools in the program and around 40 French EIRs. So that's awesome. We have more than enough to spare. So yeah.
Yay. Okay, someone was asking, does my EIR provide materials for hands-on activities? Yes. We want the onus of all this to be on the engineer. That is the message that we are giving them. They need to kind of bear the burden of preparing everything, bringing it to the class with them, minimizing the amount of prep that you would have to do. Now, that can be different if you are set up with a virtual match. If you're a virtual school, then they have to get a little creative. So they're maybe going to lean on online resources. We have a lot of our engineers, particularly for kind of junior grades, like to use Scratch to not just teach coding, but to actually facilitate lessons. And if there is another case where they do want to do something hands-on, then in that case, you may have to go get the materials. We'll explain how that all works. But we want the onus to be on the engineers to take care of like organizing, planning, and preparing. What's a reasonable hour/lesson workload an engineer could do in a school day? I think what you're asking, Kevin, is like how long can they be at the school? So we've, again, flexible, just ask them. Literally every one of them is a different situation. Like I said, some of them are retired, so they're more than happy to spend lots of time there. It just depends on their situation. We have some engineering students as well that are volunteering. So depending on their course load, their classwork, they're awesome because they're so passionate. But generally speaking, they're probably going to be looking at something that's more like what they can do in a class period. If you want to do something bigger, longer, just let them know in advance. Maybe they can move some things around and spend more time with your class. We also have engineers that will do a larger scale program. So maybe when they visit the first time, they do a little bit, and then they come back and they do a little bit more. So it's something they're sort of slowly working away on. Cheryl, you have a semester at high school. Yeah, the plan was going to look a little bit different each semester. No big deal. Absolutely fine. We have some great stuff going on in high schools, completely flexible for that. Is it too late for another teacher at my school to sign up? Oh, Heidi. I don't know. Send me an email. We'll see. We're hoping our EIR would provide some guidance for a team of teachers who are starting up school-wide STEM programming. So cool. I'm sure they would love to do that, Adam. I would be happy to do that too. I had someone recently from a local library reach out to me because they were setting up a makerspace in their community library. So we, just because of the work we do, we have a lot of knowledge about what's going on in the STEM outreach world. So don't hesitate, send me an email. I can send you my 2 cents if that's helpful. Kevin's asking eBlast. Maybe is that not translating to French? I'm not sure. eBlast, which just means I send like an email to all of our engineers or all of the teachers at the same time. Will everyone that has signed up for the program receive an EIR? So the answer is most likely. In the past, we have always had a wait list, and that's because in the past we have never had the ability to do virtual visits. So our approach this year and going forward is prioritizing proximity and making an in-person match. And if we can't do that, then we would look at a virtual match for your class so that we don't have to say no to you. And I think, Avery, I'm sorry I'm putting you on the spot so much, Avery. I think we have more engineers than schools signed up. Yes, she's shaking her head. Yes, yeah. So there might be hope for you, Heidi. Do we have access to your lessons, or is it up to the EIR to sift through them? You are welcome to access the lessons if you'd like. Again, we just want the onus to be on the engineers so that, like, we know you have a lot going on. We want them to help you out as much as they can. The way our library of lessons is set up, they can actually send you a unique URL, a link to the lessons they're thinking of using. So they could send you like 3 links and say, which one of these do you like? And it'll take you right to our library, to that record in the library, so that you can have a look at those lessons. And then while you're there, you are welcome to browse around if you like. Oh, Eir, you're all on top of it. You're answering some of these questions before. Even in BC, I'm not sure what you were asking, Carla, about BC. We do have volunteers in BC. I could use 2 for our special programming, which involves the entire school. Lisa, or Liz, I'm sorry if I was saying your name wrong. So we are looking at that. So thank you to everyone that provided us with numbers in your application, because we do have an excess of EIRs. We're paying attention to those numbers. And if we see that it's like 200, 400, like more than a couple classes, then we will we'll make note of that, and we may match multiple EIRs with you to be able to support. Oh, are there French speaking EIRs in BC? I don't know, Avery. Avery can get back to you on that if she knows. Can I e-blast the super lesson link? I think so. Avery posted somewhere. If you go to the website eir.ca and you navigate to the resources tab and you scroll down a little bit on the page, there is a link to the library. It's not like super password protected or anything like that. We're very open and we love to collaborate and share, so there's no big secrets. I don't see any more messages. Did I miss anything? No, Avery, you're saying I got them all. Anyone else we'll stay on the line here for a bit longer in case anyone else has any other questions. But thank you again, everyone, for being here tonight and being a part of the program. We're really happy to have you. Thank you, everyone. Merci.
All right, this is late, but goodbye, everyone. Answering questions in the chat.
Thank you, Avery. This is definitely our best turnout for a teacher information session.
Mm-hmm. We got a lot of really good questions too.
Yes. We used to do this session after you got matched, and it would be early in July, so it's not a good time. All right. I think I'm gonna pause the recording now. I don't think we're gonna get any more questions.